That 24 hours is a long time in politics is a well known cliche, but 24 hours seems particularly dramatic and long in our neighboring country of Pakistan. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Our top focus on the program today is the swords that have now been drawn yet again between Imran Khan and the Sharifs. Just when it looked like Imran Khan was the comeback kid in Punjab, Sharif Zardari and Imran Khan supporters say the army chief of Pakistan got together and Pakistan Prime Minister's son Hamza Shehbaz was sworn in as the chief minister. That decision, however, has been put on hold by Pakistan's Supreme Court that will have the final say on that disputed election. In the meantime, these are the kind of hashtags that trended all day on Pakistan's Twitter today. As you can see, the supporters of Imran Khan's party intriguingly lashing out at General Bajwa, Pakistan's army chief. In fact, memes mocking General Bajwa as being the puppeteer who was controlling all of this have been the dominant headline in Pakistan, creating for a very interesting anti-establishment politics from Imran Khan, one considered the creation and the blue-eyed boy of the Pakistani military. So decoding what's happening inside the political turmoil of Pakistan today. We have a very distinguished panel. Of course, the question also arises what it all means for India, if anything, amid reports that Prime Minister Modi could hold his first meeting with Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif imminently in Uzbekistan. Let me introduce our panel today. We have veteran diplomat, Ambassador TCA Raghavan. He has served as High Commissioner to Pakistan. Welcome to the program, sir. Also joining us at this very intriguing moment where we may finally ask, has Pakistan's military been weakened by the country's democratic politics, is General Sharma. General Sharma is a strategic analyst and a veteran military officer. Welcome to the program, sir. Also joining us is Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa, who's at King's College in London, one of the foremost analysts of the Pakistan military and how power is organized within Pakistan. Welcome, Ayesha. Always good to see you. And also joining us is lawyer and analyst Faisal Chaudhry, who's an advocate and a commentator. Welcome, everybody, to the program. Okay, I have to start with you, Faisal Saab. You, of course, are seen to be someone who supports Imran Khan. Your brother has served in the previous Imran Khan government. Can you tell us what you actually think is going on here and why there is so much anger against Pakistan's army chief? In fact, protests by the PTI have been held outside the houses of Pakistan's corps commanders. Once an unimaginable scenario. Faisal Saab, it's over to you.
See, as it has been, social media is wide enough, and you can see Pakistan Army is still holding its roots within the Pakistan people, and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, whom I represent in the courts also as a lawyer, and Imran Khan and other leaders. They always maintain that they want to see a very strong army because we believe that strong army is our defense from the external aggression, especially from neighboring eastern side of Pakistan, and these sort of trends. You cannot really gauge that unpopularity or the popularity, but obviously these trends are unfortunate due to some. There is no social media nowadays is such that it goes bonkers with the time to time. But I think that army or establishment of any country is always a very eminent part
But
of the
Chaudhry,
state.
but Chaudhry Saab, I agree with you that social media can go bonkers. But the Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party that you represent legally, मैं उनकी आपको कुछ तस्वीरें दिखाना चाहती हूँ जो प्रोटेस्ट हुए हैं आप ही की पार्टी की ऑफिशियल ट्विटर हैंडल से। ये जो प्रोटेस्ट हैं, इनमें जो प्रोटेस्ट है वो कोर कमांडर्स के घरों के बाहर हुए हैं। मैं पाकिस्तान को 30 साल से रिपोर्ट कर रही हूँ, मैंने कभी इस तरह के खुल के प्रोटेस्ट की कोर कमांडर जनरल साहबों के घर के बाहर इस तरह के नजरिए नहीं मिले हमें देखने के लिए. So while you say social media has gone bonkers, how do you explain that the protests have been taken to the doorsteps of generals in the Pakistan army?
ये तो फिर आपको ये भी तासुर देता है कि पाकिस्तान की आर्मी जमहूरियत पसंद है और वो बाहर अपने घरों के बाहर प्रोटेस्ट होने दे रही है, क्योंकि अगर अगर आर्मी चाहे तो वो प्रोटेस्ट जो है वो तो रोके जा सकते थे. एनीवेज, विदाउट गोइंग, देखिए ये तो एक हकीकत है पाकिस्तान में. इट्स अ फैक्ट दैट आर्मी प्लेज अ वाइटल रोल इन द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ दिस कंट्री. Maybe in the other parts of the world, army plays it differently. नो बट हियर इट इज़ बिकॉज आर्मी की इन्वॉल्वमेंट एंड मार्शल लॉ की वजह से ये काफ़ी लंबी हिस्ट्री है, और उसकी वजह से फिर सिक्योरिटी स्टेट का जो एक नैरेटिव है, जो कि एटलीस्ट मतलब मेरी जितनी भी उम्र है, मैं तो जब से पैदा हुआ हूँ मैंने अपने वेस्ट में अफगान वॉर देखी है, राइट में यहाँ पे सारे जो हम लोग एक जनरेशन है जो इस सारे में बड़े हुए हैं, और उसमें ये चीज़ें जो हैं जो अभी हो रही हैं, ये तो आई विल एडमिट के ये हिस्ट्री में पहले नहीं हुई, एंड देन दिस अवेयरनेस एंड ऑल दैट एंड दिस sort of openness in criticism, I think I also appreciate it कि ये होना चाहिए, एंड वन मस्ट नॉट किल द वॉइसेस, बिकॉज जब भी कोई क्रिटिसिज्म होती है, जिस तरह से कोई डिसेंटिंग वॉइसेस आती हैं, तो ये वॉइसेस जो हैं दे यू नो ब्रिंग बेटरनेस इन द सोसाइटी, और सोसाइटी में सवाल करने की इजाज़त होनी चाहिए। और फॉर हमारे यहाँ पे जो है ये बहुत जगह महदूद थी, लेकिन मैं देखता हूँ कि आपके यहाँ पे भी अब वो हालात नहीं हैं, और बहुत ज़्यादा सिकुड़ गया है चीज़ कि वहाँ पे भी सवालात करने वालों को,
चले
I'm not comparing, but this is what we get the feeling from वहाँ से
Okay,
कि
we'll have
पहले
a we'll have a we'll have a we'll have a conversation on what's happening with us and our media on another day. आज हमारा इंटरेस्ट कुछ इसी में है कि पाकिस्तान में क्या होने जा रहा है, तो वो डिबेट कभी और के लिए छोड़ते हैं चौधरी साहब. I
yes,
want
sir.
to bring in Ambassador Raghavan. You know, you have spent many years in Pakistan. Did you think, I can only remember one other time, and that was when Osama bin Laden was taken out, hiding in plain sight in Abbottabad, that there was an attempt by the then PPP government, which called the ISI state within the state on the floor of parliament. I don't remember another time where we've seen this kind of overt questioning. जो फैजल चौधरी साहब खुद भी कह रहे हैं कि इस तरह की खुलेआम, this open questioning of the Pakistan military, open mocking of the Pakistan military chief, protests at the doorstep of corps commanders. What do you make of this moment? All of this happening by a party led by a man called a kind of blue-eyed boy till a few months ago of the Pakistani military.
Well, there is a great deal happening in Pakistan, and to some extent, the Pakistan military is at the center of a great deal which is happening, but not at the center of everything. But to answer your question, in my view, and this is my view, I may be wrong and I'm subject to correction, but in my view, there has always been a certain political capital to be harnessed by employing a narrative against the Pakistan military in Pakistan. And this has been used a number of times by politicians and political leaders in the past. But former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been possibly the most successful, has also been the most daring in advancing this anti-military narrative. At certain times, in certain situations, such an anti-military posture does attract popular support. There is sufficient evidence of that. But the political class as a whole, while it has been prepared to use it, has also been conscious that this tactic should be employed within limits. I think Imran Khan has pushed those limits possibly further than anyone else has so far. So, to that extent, it is certainly a novel situation as far as Pakistan politics is concerned.
That's a really interesting point, which I want to take to Ayesha Siddiqa then, and then I'll come to General Sharma. Ayesha, this point that actually Pakistan's political leaders do the best when they position themselves in antagonism to the Pakistani deep state, to the Pakistani military. So think of Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto joining hands at the time of Musharraf. Think now of Imran Khan taking on General Bajwa. What's actually going on here? I mean, it's very difficult to make sense. It looked like Imran Khan was having his comeback moment. Then it looked like Sharif and Zardari overtly, maybe with the blessings of the Pakistan army, had got together to outplay him. And now it looks again like Imran Khan still has staying power. But what's the meta narrative? What's actually going on in this jousting for influence and power?
Barkha, firstly, thanks for inviting me. I think what's happening here is, firstly, there is a divide. Clearly, there is a divide within the military, which is very obvious. I mean, one hand, you have, when we say military, the next question should be, who are we talking about? There is General Bajwa, who is the army chief. Theoretically, Pakistan's army chief is very powerful, is the force to reckon with, and all of that, and that continues. But it's also a fact that General Bajwa, for a couple of reasons, firstly, to do with his faith, secondly, to do with his second extension. Army does not normally take very comfortably towards its chiefs taking extension, especially extension from civilian governments. And this is what has happened. Bajwa got himself extended from Imran Khan government and so lost the influence and popularity in the eyes of his own men. And now there is actually greater concern that in November he may actually get another extension. That is the worry. And so what we have here is military fighting the military. Uh, and here the face of this fight is different civilian groups. So on the one hand, you have Bajwa supporting probably PPP and PMLN to push back Imran Khan, and then you have the rest of the military, or what I hear is at least 4 or 5 generals who support Imran Khan. Now, what you saw PTI supporters queuing outside corps commanders and protesting outside corps commanders' residences. Now, that is precisely what they're conscious of. That the generals and the military is very conscious of seeking public legitimacy. So they are both, they can, and especially in Punjab. I mean, this is not where it's happening. This is not Balochistan where they can disappear people. This is not the tribal areas. This is Punjab, heartland of Pakistan, heartland of Pakistani power. And there, these generals get very nervous. And so what Imran Khan is trying to negotiate, as well as the PPP PMLN leadership, is how to use their power to convince the generals that they are still relevant, or they can put pressure on the streets, generate pressure on the streets, which will be bad for them, and therefore. So very simply, it's also a battle within the military that you see being fought out on the streets.
That's absolutely fascinating. And General Sharma, let me take this to you. There has been a section of opinion in India that would say, oh, well, Pakistan's internal turmoil can only be good for India. But there is another section, a more thoughtful section, which would argue that Pakistan in this state of turmoil is not actually good. Because, you actually don't know at this point, and that's something I'll return to, who's exactly in control right now in Pakistan. Because if Pakistan's military chief, arguably the most powerful man in Pakistan, is not as powerful as he once was because his own men may not be fully backing him per Ayesha, I don't know what that means for the region. Your thoughts as an Indian military strategic affairs analyst?
Thank you, Barkha, for inviting me. So actually, it is a very high drama, and you can't exactly make out as to whose side is who is on. So rightly, when Imran Khan was moved away from in month of April, it was obvious that he had fallen apart from the military, which had actually propped him up and brought him into the governance. But subsequently, last 3 months have not shown any great achievements of the Shahbaz Sharif government. They haven't actually got themselves out to show they are in control of the overall situation. So which side now the military stands out, the Pakistan army or the state stands out, is very difficult to actually judge. In fact, in last 3 months performance of Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, they would have now gone back and may have felt that Imran Khan was a better choice than this present haphazard government that is existing today. That's one. Second, you see the protests that are outside Peshawar Corps Commander's house. Now, Peshawar Corps Commander is, I wouldn't say PTI man, but he was a man whom Imran Khan was fond of. He was the gentleman Imran Khan was wanting to continue as the ISI head, and all the controversy that took place last year between him and General Bajwa. So, these protests of which kind are they orchestrated? So, I will not put my head onto the news and say that why should PTI protest opposite the house of General Hamid, who was a gentleman that Imran Khan was favoring all this time. So I will not take anybody's side. Now, whether General Bajwa gets November or not is not a material. It's very important in Pakistan's case whether he gets November or not. But the fact of the matter is that as times are passing, one could venture and say that there may be elections. And there may be elections. You cannot guarantee whether the support comes up to PDM or comes up to PTI. The electorate takes things close to the heart. And all the crowds that they get across to see Imran Khan's rally actually do not translate themselves to votes as we count votes. We've seen Fazlur Rahman's large rallies, and then, Fazlur Rahman doesn't get that same kind of vote that actually comes across there. So, there's no guarantee for who the next election is. But I think the Supreme Court has also played partisan role in giving rulings which actually tend to be as if what the deep state has been telling them to rule about. I would venture in to say that in times to come, there may be elections in the early elections later this year, because this confusion cannot last for too long.
Let me actually take this to Faisal Saab. Is this jhagda all about when the general elections will be held, where the perception is that the Sharifs and the Zardaris do not want these elections to be held now, nor does General Bajwa, but Imran Khan's party wants ki bhai abhi ho jaye, jaldi se ho jaye, because he senses that this sort of taking on of the military will create some resonance, some popularity among the Aam Janta.
देखिए, there's 2-3 aspects, the 2-3 elements. First of all, I just want to correct you, that video you just was playing of Zartaj Gul, it is of DG Khan, not of Peshawar. But yes, the protest was outside. Secondly, as Janisab said, I must bring it on the record that recently, out of 20 seats, PTI, in spite of all the, opposition and the sitting government, and, against all odds, it managed to win 16 seats, out of 20. And PML and Nawaz, who once was considered as a voice of Punjab, has been reduced and shrink onto three seats, and one is independent. So that's how it is at the moment. Yes, every politician wants to encash the popularity wave. Imran Khan across the Pakistan इस वक्त सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलर लीडर हैं, और उनकी पॉपुलैरिटी और दूसरी जमातों की पॉपुलैरिटी नजदीक भी नहीं है. उसकी वजह
क्या आप समझते हैं फैजल साहब, सॉरी मैं आपको बीच में एक सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ, क्या आपको लगता है ये पॉपुलैरिटी जो है, और ये आप देख रही हैं तस्वीरें ऑफ आसिफ अली जरदारी who is seen to have delivered those votes away from Imran Khan in Punjab, leading to this confusion, लेकिन क्या ये पॉपुलैरिटी इसलिए भी है क्योंकि टुडे ही इज टेकिंग ऑन द पाकिस्तान मिलिट्री, या फिर आप आयशा सिद्दीका के साथ सहमत हैं, डू यू एग्री विद हर दैट द मिलिट्री इटसेल्फ टुडे इज डिवाइडेड and that General Bajwa has lost a certain degree of authority in the eyes of his own men, क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि एक्सटेंशन पे एक्सटेंशन सीख कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, देखिए बात यह है कि हमारे यहाँ पे आर्मी चीफ की अथॉरिटी कभी भी अरोड नहीं होती है. एक्सटेंशन की बात बिल्कुल डॉक्टर साहब ठीक कह रही हैं. तो जब भी कोई एक्सटेंशन लेते हैं तो ये हमने देखा है माजी में जनरल कैनी साहब का भी और अशफाक परवेज कैनी, और अभी भी उसमें थोड़ा सा फर्क है, क्रिटिसिज्म होता है, ज़्यादा हो जाता है, और एक्सटेंशन को नॉर्मली पसंद नहीं किया जाता है. लेकिन इसका ये हरगिज़ मतलब नहीं है कि यहाँ पे फाइनल डिसीजन तो आर्मी चीफ का ही होता है. अगर वो डिस्प्यूट होते भी हैं इंटरनली जो भी है, इस तरह की बात जैसे एम्पलीफाई की जा रही है, मेरा ख्याल में ऐसी बात नहीं है. जाहिर है पॉलिटिकल हालात है, पॉलिटिकल हालात जो हैं. और जब मैं जनरल साहब की एक बात से बिल्कुल मैं रिट्रेट करना चाहता हूँ, और मैं इनकी बात से एग्री करता हूँ, ये जो फेलियर हुआ है पीडीएम गवर्नमेंट का पिछले 3 महीने में, इकोनॉमी के फ्रंट के ऊपर, गवर्नेंस के फ्रंट के ऊपर, और पॉलिटिक्स में, अब मसला ये है कि पीडीएम की जमातें जो हैं वो 90s की पॉलिटिक्स कर रही हैं. वो वही जो पॉलिटिक्स जो पहले पीपल्स पार्टी और पीएमएल नवाज आपस में करते थे, जरदारीज और शरीफ, वो अब 2022 में हमारा बहुत बड़ा चंक है यंग, जिसको युवा कहते हैं आप लोग, हम 60% हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है उसके मसाइल डिफरेंट. अब जो पीडीएम जस्ट PDM's government problem that I see is that कि उनको they are not aware of the generation they want to govern. ये जो जनरेशन है, इमरान खान कनेक्ट करते हैं इनसे. तो वो बातें वो करते हैं। ये पॉपुलैरिटी की जो वजह है वो यंग जनरेशन और इनकी जो वॉन्ट्स है उनके ऊपर उनका पल्स पे हाथ होना इमरान खान का ये बहुत बड़ा मैटर करता है और उसका क्रिज्मा मैटर करता है उसकी पर्सनैलिटी।
Let me come in now. I'm seeing my friend and veteran journalist Munizae Jahangir also joining the broadcast, but I want to just go to High Commissioner Ambassador Raghavan first to Ayesha Siddiqa's argument that this is the military versus the military, that General Bajwa's authority has been eroded in at least the eyes of a section of the Pakistani military, that it is unprecedented for the kind of memes that we have seen on Pakistan's social media about. I mean, if General Bajwa today is not the most powerful man or woman in Pakistan, I must ask who is? Who is in control in Pakistan? Ambassador?
Well, I would say that General Bajwa's position is no doubt weaker today than it was a year ago because his term ends in November. And certainly the fact that a new army chief is to be appointed in November does underwrite a great deal of the tactical moves and counter moves which are taking place, and possibly also explain some of this jostling within the army command which Dr. Siddiqa had referred to. So this political crisis, in a sense, plays out in the backdrop of this succession which is to take place, and perhaps to some extent, the succession itself is a lever and a driver of this political crisis. But I don't think one should minimize the fact of the political feuding itself. And this inability of the political class in Pakistan to have certain agreed prima facie limits that what can be done and what cannot be done has been characteristic of Pakistan politics from the 1990s. And that is really what explains to a great extent also the role which the military has played from time to time.
I was just going to say that in some ways it would be exactly like what happens in India and Maharashtra, where you vote for somebody else forms the government, then somebody topples someone, trips them, and forms the government, except of that meta question of where the Pakistan military is in all of that. That's not a relevant question in India. So this is playing out at two levels. This is playing out at the level of the political feuding, and this is playing out at the level of what's actually going on behind the scenes in terms of that military-civilian equation and what is clearly hybrid power in Pakistan, derived from elections and derived from the establishment. I wanted to come to Munizae, but Ayesha, you said you wanted a brief interjection. Please go ahead, Ayesha.
Barkha, I think I wanted to point out one thing, which in my eyes is very important. From 2008 till 22, we have seen 3 prime ministers getting sacked: Yusuf Raza Gilani, Nawaz Sharif, and then now Imran Khan. So Supreme Court, which is again non-parliamentary institutions being used, or they're using their power to get to sack prime ministers. Now, what is very interesting and amusing is that in case of the 2 previous removals, which is Yusuf Raza Gilani and Nawaz Sharif, you didn't have the kind of reaction that you're having today. So, and that divide, I mean, I'm not suggesting for a minute that political forces are not doing their battle, they're not fighting, but let's also be very clear on one thing, that political forces are so also dependent on, for their battles, they are dependent on the military. And that is where the fight comes together. The difference between the 2 prime ministers, all previous prime ministers getting sacked, and this one is that in case of the previous sackings, we didn't have that. We still had that consensus within the military that there is corruption. These guys have not heard. They've not been institutional, so get rid of them and weaken these governments. Firstly, the PPP and then the PMLN. Now, in this case, my argument is that in this case, there is clearly a divide within the military on how far there are segments which still want Imran Khan to continue, and that is where the problem lies, that they are not being
That's Got that. And thank you. And I think that's a very, very intriguing point. And anyone, not just Pakistanis, but all of us as students of Pakistan who want to learn what's actually going on will be interested in that. Munizae, is that how you see it? So there are two ways of seeing what's happening. Either these unprecedented images of protesters, as we were saying, outside the homes of corps commanders, are saying finally that Pakistan's politics are able to assert themselves in an equal fashion vis-a-vis the Pakistan military. Or you can take the hard-nosed argument that Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa is making, that actually this is a section of the military by proxy on the streets. This is Pakistan's army versus Pakistan's army. Munizae, how do you see what's happening?
Well, it's very clear that there is a section of the military which is perhaps more inclined towards Imran Khan than the other political parties. And then there is a section of the military which believes that no, the other political parties should be allowed to complete their mandate. So it's very clear to me that there is a divide. Now, how deep is it? And how serious is it? That's another question, because I do believe to some extent what Faisal was saying, that the army chief is the army chief, and ultimately it will be the word of the army chief that will prevail. So whether the military is doing it because they believe that divide and rule is the way to go forward, or whether they genuinely
Okay. I think Munizae just bunched up there. So let me just ask Ambassador Raghavan to complete that point. Is this the military versus the military, or is this something else going on here briefly? And then I'll go to General Sharma.
It's very difficult to disaggregate and come to one single cause. I think there are a number of factors at play here, and finally, I don't think one will ever know what really is going on. It is possibly only some years later that different accounts can be put together to construct a coherent narrative of this is most probably what happened. But at this stage, I don't think so. I think what each of your guests from Pakistan is saying is entirely true and
plausible.
So factor at play. Whether it is the only factor at play, or whether there is yet another factor which we don't know about, really is very difficult to decipher.
So fascinating. All things and their opposite can be equally plausible. Munizae, if you're back, I was going to go to General Sharma, but you were making the point about the Pakistan Army Chief, and you agree with Faisal that the Pakistan Army Chief is the Army Chief. But have you ever seen this kind of open lashing out at him as we're seeing from PTI supporters these days?
Well, absolutely. I've seen it. If you can hear me clearly, I have seen it. I have seen it in Balochistan in 2006 when Akbar Bukhti was murdered and General Musharraf was abused on the streets of Balochistan. So, of course, I have seen it before. We have seen it after the 1971 war. We have seen it in so many other places. But myself, as a reporter, I have seen it. People have short-term memories, and often people just look at Punjab and not the other provinces. But I have to say one thing here, which is that I'm suspicious of the fact, I believe that it could also be that the military is pitching one of their party against the other party. It could be that both these political parties are supported by some faction of the military, and there is confusion within the military of who really should be in power. So I think that it could also be the military's uncertainty that is playing out in Pakistani politics. I don't think that the military is also clear of exactly what it is.
So you don't actually think that this is the Pakistan military showing a kind of weakening by democratic politics. You think it's still very much the Pakistani military, maybe divided, but in control of the politics.
Well, I don't think it's that simple, Barkha. I do believe that the Pakistani military has been weakened, and in the way that maybe Faisal will not agree with me, but I think that all political parties now believe that the military is a negative force in politics, that they have played a negative role in politics. And somewhere, major political parties and definitely their leaders believe that either one general or the other have played a negative role. The reason that they do not take on the entire military is because obviously they will have to come back into power and deal with the very same military. So they will say General Bajwa, or Nawaz Sharif would also say General Bajwa or General Musharraf, but they would not put the entire military in the same bracket because it's for political expediency.
Yeah, General Sharma, let's bring you in. You were asking about whether the protests are orchestrated, and you can hear from our Pakistani friends that there is a kind of deep cynicism, at least in Ayesha and Munizae's argument, that perhaps what we are seeing are the divisions within the military, or the factionalism within the military reflect itself on the streets, but it's an unclear picture. It's an unclear picture. What would you say?
Yeah, Barkha, see, we all tend to take militaries as a monolithic organizations, as they are all one. Not all countries have their own issues within the militaries, and nothing comes to the fore. And it's not known inside. So actually, militaries are not monolithic organizations. Never, and no country can be taken as such. Second part I want to say is that the politicians in Pakistan, it suits them to have the military behind the scenes as some kind of a guardian angels for the nation. So, despite the fact that they may not like it or may like it, but they don't want to shed the importance of the Pakistan military or the deep state as the so-called guardians. While people may, the buddhijeevi, the intellectuals may want to do so, but it doesn't happen this way. And the third point I want to make is that the army chiefs in governance or as deep state are not new in Pakistan politics. They have been there for throughout the 70 years of history, either in governance or as behind the scenes. Having said that, look, the Pakistan army chiefs are so finely trained over the period of their lives that they retain their constituency. They make sure that their constituency, basic constituency, which is the military, is with them. And that's why they get the corps commander so often they discuss. Even the other day, 3 days ago, I saw a Twitter handle, a discussion being carried out on at the chief of joint staff level. So the discussions continue. So while we say that there are dissensions, but I would say that I think the Pakistan armed forces over a period of time have understood how to manage the dissensions and actually project themselves. So army chiefs, you can't say the army chief has divested his power from the rank and file of the Pakistan army, having been a deep state. So I think we need to take a nuanced view of this one and do not denigrate and cleavages where cleavages may not exist so easily.
That's an interesting perspective, and I think the Indian military has studied the Pakistani military more closely than certainly Indian journalists have had an occasion to. So I do take what you say very seriously.
And more closely than we have studied the Indian army.
All right, that's true. I'm seeing a lot of hard-nosed honesty on this program. But Faisal Saab, I want you to pick up something that Ayesha said. She said 3 prime ministers have not been able to complete their terms in Pakistan, but we've never seen this kind of outpouring. Now, आप कहेंगे कि वो इसलिए है क्योंकि इमरान खान जैसे कोई पॉपुलर ही नहीं है. आयशा कह रही है कि भाई इसमें एक किसी का हाथ भी है, ऊपर से भी किसी का हाथ है. So how would you respond, Faisal Saab?
नहीं, मैं डॉक्टर साहब की ये बात से मैं इत्तेफाक नहीं करूँगा. देखिए, ये पहली दफ़ा हुआ है जिस तरह से ये जो एक आउटबर्स्ट आया है पंजाब से. पंजाब, अब मुनीज़े बिल्कुल ठीक कह रही हैं और मैं बहुत सारी बातों से एग्री करता हूँ मुनीज़े की. पाकिस्तान में 60% जो टोटल ऑफ पाकिस्तान इज़ पंजाब. सो पंजाब मैटर्स, और मेजर पार्ट ऑफ मिलिट्री also hails from Punjab. पाकिस्तान में जो मिलिट्री है, like all other countries, मिडिल क्लास का सबसे ऑर्गेनाइज इदारा है. और पीटीआई जो है, it is considered as a middle class most popular political party. So वो एक उनका वो नेक्सस तो रहा और वो पीछे भी. अब लेकिन वो जो यंगस्टर्स की, मैंने आपको कहा है कि यंगस्टर्स की जो प्रायोरिटीज डिफरेंट हैं, उनके एक्सपोजर्स बहुत बड़े हैं. लिहाजा पहली दफ़ा आपको ये चीज़ जो है वो नज़र आ रही है अक्रॉस द बोर्ड. पाकिस्तान में इमरान खान ने 4 जगहों पे, 4 सूबों में, बल्कि कश्मीर में भी जो है, आज़ाद कश्मीर में, उसमें भी जलसे किए और वहाँ पे वो बात की जैसे सब कह रहे थे शायद कि जलसों में जो क्राउड होता है वो वोट पे
आप कह रहे हैं
ट्रांसफर हुआ. इस बार ट्रांसफर हुआ. मैं ये अर्ज कर रहा हूँ कि इमरान खान की जिस तरह से आउस्टर हुआ और फिर जिस तरह से उनका पॉलिटिकल कम बैक हुआ पाकिस्तान में, इससे पहले एटलीस्ट 85 या पिछली तरह से मैंने नहीं देखा है कि
मेरे सवाल ये है सर, जिसको आपने कहा कि उन्होंने ये जलसे किए, जिसको आप आजाद कश्मीर कहते हैं,
इलेक्शन जीते,
जिसको हम पाकिस्तान ऑक्यूपाइड कश्मीर कहते हैं, आप आजाद कश्मीर कहते हैं, वहां भी जलसे हुए, ऑल दैट। लेकिन आपने आयशा की पॉइंट का जवाब नहीं दिया कि इज दिस आल्सो द हैंड ऑफ अ सेक्शन ऑफ द पाकिस्तान मिलिट्री, यस और नो? फिर मैं आयशा के पास जाऊंगी।
देखिए मैं डॉक्टर साहबा के पास जो उसकी वजूहात होंगी, she must have the reasons for her narrations, but frankly speaking I don't see any hand, because this, if the credit anybody wants to take it away from Imran Khan and his efforts and his the campaign he galvanized, and the way he went to the people of Pakistan, and all that, if somebody wants to sort of just disregard it, so I will take it,
Okay, let me bring in Ayesha. Let me bring in Ayesha. Ayesha, go ahead. We need to start taking last comments. Ayesha, I'll start with you. Ayesha.
Barkha, don't you find it interesting that while all this confusion is going on, the Election Commission of Pakistan does not move the most important case against Imran Khan, and that is the foreign funding case, which gives an impression that there is some help of sorts that, which is still coming. Let's not forget one thing. Yes, Imran Khan is popular, but Imran Khan has been made popular. Let's not definitely not forget that. I mean, he has, and it's not just about his popularity. I'll tell you where the division in the military is. It's not just in support of Imran Khan, but it's also an anger which has been built up over decades against the traditional parties, which is the PPP and the PMLN. Look at their narratives. I tried to do that. I started looking at the television serials that ISPR makes, and what came like a bolt of lightning was this realization that God, they have been producing a narrative for decades that there is a certain kind of politician who is bad and needs to be replaced. This is where the problem is arising. That for years, for decades, your own men, people in the society have been made to believe that there is a bad.
But how do you respond to General Sharma's argument that the military in Pakistan knows it's a honed skill by now on how to manage these cleavages?
Well, the point is that they are trying to manage, and the fact is that the argument which I had been listening, that army chief is not weak. Listen, the issue is that they will listen to the army chief. They will not there is no there will not be a forcible removal. They will not push him out, because that is important for integrity of the institution. But what is certainly important is the way he is being challenged through Imran Khan indicates his weakness. And so the messaging, I mean, this is a lot of symbolism. There is a lot of messaging which is going back and forth. And let's be very clear about it, that despite that the army knows how to handle this is an event which they're also are very confused, and they don't know how to handle this one.
Faisal Saab, brief interjection, then Ambassador Raghavan. Faisal Saab?
I just wanted to clarify that the term foreign funding was coined by a specific some media group or some people. It is prohibited funding. First of all, there is no foreign funding case, because I have been the lawyer in these cases, and I know that. Secondly, this confusion, as you portrayed, is also going on in Pakistan. The problem is very simple. As if you ask me, I analyze it. It is a generation shifting. When the politics is shifting from one generation to another, the youngsters are taking, and the middle class army connects itself. That's why there is lots of support for Imran Khan within the army ranks, because of its party and the nature of army. So naturally, it connects with each other. And that's why you see that such kind of uproar
Okay.
when he was ousted. I mean, the first week of the Saturday, when the call was made, millions of people came out of street without any organized
Okay,
protest.
sorry, yeah, but I was just going to say that no matter which rally you look at, if you look at just the images, there are millions for Maryam Sharif, there are millions for Imran Khan, there is clear political mobilization on the streets. Meanwhile, there are rumors, and I want to bring this to Munizae right after General Raghavan. We just got a message from a friend in Pakistan who believes that general elections will be held in October, and the election commission, what the okay, this is from a PTI supporter who believes the general elections will be held in October, probably by the 26th of October. The announcement is expected as early as tomorrow, and the election commission will be replaced. I don't know if this is true. These are messages coming in from friends in Pakistan. Ambassador Raghavan, when you were High Commissioner, did you see anything like this? Are you surprised by this? Are you surprised by what you're seeing?
Well, I think I'm not entirely surprised because such scenes have taken place in Pakistan before. But it is true that the intensity of these scenes increases every time, every successive time that they take place. So, certainly, the intensity of the anti Pakistan military narrative this time is stronger than earlier. It is not to say that the narrative was not absent in the past. But to my mind, there are two significant issues which, possibly because they are so obvious, are rarely mentioned. And the first and most evident is that this political feuding or the military backed political feuding uh, takes place amidst economic crisis, which is certainly the most serious since 1999 and perhaps even earlier. So it's a pretty fraught situation in
Yeah,
that sense, because if everyone is worried about where they are going to be tomorrow, it means that the economy is the issue which
yeah,
will receive the least attention. The second thing is that while it is true that politics is shifting, but it's a very incomplete and dysfunctional kind of shift. While the
yeah.
political class has historically certainly gained a great deal vis-a-vis the military, it has not gained enough. So what you're having is that you have intermediate players like the Supreme Court, which are now acquiring a larger than life role, and we don't know in what direction that is going to take Pakistan.
That's a very interesting point, and I'm going to give Munizae the last word. But General Sharma, briefly, if you will, we've all grown up hearing about hybrid war. We're actually now looking at hybrid politics. That is what Pakistan's politics are. They're partly democratic. They're partly completely led by the Pakistan military. Your last thoughts before I ask Munizae to close for us.
Yeah, okay. I'll take two, three quick points. Is 2022 different than past? No, that's a question that at least many of us ask ourselves. Why is doctrine of necessity not being pushed forward in 2022, which has been pushed forward number of times in the history of Pakistan? Is there a changed environment? In lesser excuses, in lesser rationale, the doctrine of necessity had brought in a martial law was brought across and the Pakistan army chiefs have become. I think there is a change here, and this change is that there is a mass movement here where the doctrine of necessity is no more void. So that's one issue I want to raise. Second is the issue of the long marches. I think Pakistan is habitual to long marches. I think they mean little. Every year that you follow some long march or the other, but the long marches, people move from Karachi to Islamabad, and Islamabad it fizzles across. I don't think that generates actual support. And my last point is that the institutions in Pakistan have also learned the art of looking for guidance. If in every aspect, in every time they look for guidance, whether it is in NAB or the election commission or the judiciary, everybody looks for the guidance. So the institutionalization of the deep state is so deep that it cannot be obviated across in Pakistan.
I think those are very interesting points, in particular why the doctrine of necessity is not being invoked anymore. Pakistan is post-coup, but it is certainly not post its deep state, and that is the point. Munizae, the last word to you is this: what is this a battle for? Is this a battle for an early election? Is this a battle for civilian autonomy? Before you joined, I was reminding our viewers of Yusuf Gilani calling the ISI a state within a state on the floor of Pakistan's parliament as Osama bin Laden was taken out of Abbottabad by the Americans. What is this churn about at its heart?
Well, it's all of those things, Barkha. And I want to say something when you talked about the doctrine of necessity. Just today, somebody tweeted and said that the judges are not doing doctrine of necessity anymore in Pakistan. They're doing the doctrine of morality. And that is absolutely correct. When prime ministers are dismissed on not being Sadiq and Amin, which means pure and truthful. So these are things that angels should be beholden to, or the judges who themselves rule on these cases, but certainly not the politicians who will do anything in order to come into power. And that's just the nature of the beast anywhere in the world. So one that. Secondly, I also think it's not just that Imran Khan is popular amongst various groups of people. This election, this particular election, the voter, and we went and interviewed many voters, they were talking about inflation. This was a vote also against inflation. And I think that has to be remembered. And secondly, I do also believe that Imran Khan's party, their chief minister candidate was Pervez Elahi. He's not from the PTI. What is Pervez Elahi known for? For being part of the King's party. Who does the King party support and has always supported? It is the military. So why were they aligning themselves with the King's party, with the pro-military party? Because they know that one faction of the military is actually behind it. So I think it's a mixture of things. I certainly do not want to take away from Imran Khan's populism. He is popular amongst the people, but the army also likes halal politicians. For them, Nawaz Sharif is haram and Shahbaz Sharif is halal. For them, Benazir was haram and Asif Zardari is halal. And similarly, they will go the same way with Imran Khan. Someday he will be haram and Shah Mahmood Qureshi or Asad Umar will be halal. So that day is not far, I'm sure. And I see Faisal smiling there because he knows within his heart that that is the case as well. So in Pakistan, the real battle is between the civilians and between the military, and it will always come to that. And I think as far as the judges are concerned, for decades, they have chosen their side, which has been the military, which is why the doctrine of necessity has been buried in favor of the doctrine of morality. And only the politicians are thrown under that bus.
Fascinating. We will close on that note, and I have to also just Faisal, are you trying to say something? I was going to say goodbye, but I'll allow you a sentence there. Yes.
Just briefly, because why the political parties in Pakistan need to strengthen themselves and become more democratic and to adopt moral ethics and do not go to and put their neck in the hands of the court or the other institutions. That's a major problem.
Well, as I said, I also think it's also a moment to call out a shout out for those in Pakistan who continue to fight for their country's democracy. People in the media especially bravely do take on power and hold power to account. So thank you in particular to Munizae Jahangir and Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa. Thank you, Faisal Saab, for your perspective, and to Ambassador Raghavan and General Sharma. I would say two Indians who have studied Pakistan so intimately so as to know it better than many Pakistanis themselves. Thank you very much, and we'll keep a close eye on this unfolding space. Have a great weekend. See you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.